Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having such a fantastic week. So, those who are familiar with the channel will know that I love, American styled food. I think American styled food has had an influence on many countries all over the world. So, I thought this would be an interesting video. The number one comfort food in every state in the United States of America. So I can't wait for this one. I think this is going to be very, very fun. And I want you folks to let me know if this video gets your state correct or if they missed out something. And if they got it wrong, let me know in the comments what is the best comfort food from your state, because I value your comments more than any other video. I read every single comments. I appreciate you guys so much. So without any further delay, let's just get right into
Get
it.
ready for a mouth-watering journey. From crispy fried
See.
green tomatoes to silky, slippery
Fried tom-
dumplings and
Yeah.
the underdog food favorite. Indulge in the number one comfort foods across states, north and south. Made from thick, chunky slices of fresh green tomato that have been dipped in egg and flour or cornmeal and then fried to golden perfection, fried green tomatoes are the epitome of classic Southern cooking.
Wow.
The dish started as a way to use up unripe tomatoes before they could.
So I have never had a fried green tomato. So this is Alabama's comfort food, fried green tomato. I cannot believe it. I've never had that before, but it looks pretty darn good. What would you couple this with? Would you have some sort of, sauce that you dip it in or something like that? I'm not sure, but
Could
interesting.
spoil, and has grown into a staple of Alabama home cooking. Tangy and savory with a satisfying crunch in every bite, these Montgomery faves only get better when dipped in a bit of remoulade or spicy mayonnaise. Throughout
Spicy
Alaska,
mayonnaise.
king crab
Okay.
legs are a favorite regardless of whether they've been boiled, grilled, steamed, or baked. Tender, sweet, and succulent on their own, and only better when dipped in a vat of butter, the king crab has come to serve as a symbol of Alaska's resilience.
Okay.
Harvested in the cold waters of the Bering Sea, this prized delicacy is especially treasured by locals who get to enjoy it at its freshest. Chimichangas are made from grilled tortillas that have been filled with ingredients ranging from shredded chicken to beef to pork, and
Before we get into Arizona, what do you guys think of crab legs? I've had it a few times and always find it's difficult to eat, but obviously I'm not experienced in terms of getting the meat out. I'm one of those simple guys that almost like the meat that I'm eating to already be prepared rather than having to, break things open and stuff like that. I find it difficult. What do you guys think of crab legs? Is that the general comfort food of Alaska, or did they get it right or wrong? Anyway, we're back to
are then
Arizona.
rolled up like a burrito and deep fried until golden brown.
Chimichangas.
An Arizona favorite, they provide everything you could want in a classic comfort food. Satisfying crunch, hot savory filling, and mouth-watering
That looks
toppings
good.
like sour cream,
That
hot
looks good.
sauce, and guacamole. It's enough to make even the saltiest superhero fall in love.
Time to make
Almost looks like a spring roll.
Chicken and dumplings are typically made from a biscuit-like mixture of flour, baking powder, salt, and milk. The dumpling, which is then dropped into a pot with hot broth and chicken and cooked until doughy, like a noodle. Once a staple for lower-income families, the dish has become a favorite throughout the state of Arkansas, including some of Little Rock's most high-end restaurants.
That looks good.
When you
That
think of
looks really
California
good.
cuisine, fish tacos likely
Fish
come to mind.
tacos.
And for good reason. They were created by street vendors working along the coast who wanted a delicious,
Okay.
portable way to sell their catch of the day. The battered and fried chunks of cod, halibut, or tilapia served in a warm tortilla and topped with greens, tomato, onion, and lime juice epitomize everything fresh and sunny and ocean-packed that there is to love about the Golden State.
They're so good. I mean, look at this beautiful taco.
So I have never had a fish taco in my life. So folks, please let me know, am I missing out? Is this something that I need to try? I'd be very interested to hear your opinion.
In and around the Rockies, people from Colorado are often called greenies due to the state's distinctive green license plates. But there's another reason to call Colorado locals greenies as well: their love of chili verde, or green
Ooh.
chili. A popular
Ooh.
dish first dreamt up by Spanish settlers, green chili is a slow-cooked mixture of pork or chicken plus green chiles, potatoes, beans, or tomatoes. It's a hearty, spicy,
I
and
like
slightly
this.
sweet stew that's
like this.
perfect for the state's outdoor active lifestyle and brisk, unpredictable weather. The beloved
Man, I
hamburger
love
already
chili.
holds a place in the Comfort Food Hall of Fame, but in Connecticut, they've swapped out that frying for some perfectly placed steam to create their iconic steamed cheeseburger. Invented a half-century ago in the small town of Meriden, steamed cheeseburgers take everything you already love about regular burgers and make them better. They're juicier, the cheese is meltier, and the bun is even more moist and delicious. Yum! Delaware's slippery dumplings are a
Hey folks, you had me at the word cheeseburger. Listen, I'd do anything for a good burger. I'd say that's my staple thing. Sometimes, You know, I go to a nice restaurant with family or friends or whatever, and I always just get the burger anyway. That's my go-to. So if there's a state that makes a good burger, you're guaranteed to find me there. That is for sure.
A wildly popular regional variation on the beloved staple chicken and noodles. In this case, the dish originated with the Pennsylvania Dutch, who also settled parts of Delaware. Slippery dumplings are a lot like traditional noodles, but also chewier and more satisfying, thanks to their jumbo size. Because of their thickness, slippery noodles also tend to soak up all the flavors of the chicken broth they're cooked in, creating a delicious combo of savory and slightly sweet flavors in every bite.
I've never had
Believed by
slippery
many to
noodles
have
in
been
my
created
life.
in the Florida Keys in the mid-1890s by a woman known only as Aunt Sally, key lime pie is a classic comfort food dessert loved for its unique mixture of tangy, creamy, and sweet flavors.
That
The
looks
pie
good.
typically consists of a graham cracker crust that is filled with a mixture of sweetened condensed milk, key lime juice, and egg yolks, and then baked until set. It's then topped with lush whipped cream or frothy meringue, making it the perfect relaxing comfort food. Not to be
That looked so damn good. It looks like it's got like some sort of cheesesteak texture. I'm sure it's different composition, but had that nice texture, that crust with the biscuit crust. Oh my goodness, that looks so good. I'd love to try that.
outdone by its neighbor to the south, Georgia too chooses pie as its favorite comfort food of choice. Only in this case, it's a pie that pairs perfectly with the state's official moniker of the Peach State. It's peach pie.
Oh, that looks nice.
Best in Georgia.
Made with fresh, juicy peaches that are baked between 2 layers of flaky golden crust, peach pies have become a staple of Georgia cuisine, as the dessert is the go-to option for countless family gatherings and picnics.
I love
A staple
southern
in
food,
Hawaiian
guys.
culture for centuries, poke bowls exploded in popularity across the mainland in the last few years. But if you want good, authentic poke, you have to go back to where the dish first started. A typical poke bowl consists of diced raw fish, soy sauce, sesame oil, onions, and seaweed served over white rice. And you don't have to go fancy to get good poke. Some of the island's best comes from casual on-the-go settings, like gas stations and convenience stores. Idaho
I love a good poke bowl, guys, especially like a nice salmon poke bowl. You know, those that like sushi, it's almost like eating sushi in a bowl. So yeah, I'm a sucker for a good poke bowl every now and again.
may
that's
be
for
known
sure.
as the potato state, but when it comes to comfort foods, its residents choose beef all the way.
Finger
A half
steak.
century or so back, a chef in
Interesting.
Boise started serving up finger-sized strips of breaded, battered, deep-fried top brown steak, and a regional favorite was born. Finger steaks have been popular throughout the state ever since. Typically served with a side of cocktail sauce, these crispy, tender shards of beef are salty and savory on the outside and moist and juicy inside. Perfect for a quick snack or a full-on meal.
Finger steaks.
Seems like a good bar
These are some
snack.
strange foods in Iowa.
Ever heard the term pizza pie? If so, then you might have been talking to someone from Illinois, where the Chicago-style
All right.
pizza reigns supreme. The ultimate deep dish treat, Chicago-style pizzas were created as an alternative to trendy, thin crust pizzas of the 1940s. They typically consist of a thick, buttery crust, tomato sauce, cheese, and toppings, plus a selection of meats and vegetables served in thick swaths, almost like a savory Italian layer cake. Delish. But is it really pizza?
So guys, I've always seen this in movies, you know, American movies, especially if they're based in Chicago, they would talk about Chicago style pizza. Never ever had this in my life, so please give me the verdict. What do you think of Chicago styled pizza, and how would you compare it to a normal pizza? Which one is better? This one looks heavy. Now, one slice of this, that would be enough for me, whereas a normal pizza, I could probably eat that all in one sitting. So this definitely seems more like a pie than a pizza to me, but I'd be interested to hear your opinions thereof. I definitely want to try it sometime, that's for sure.
It's not pizza. This is tomato soup in a bread bowl.
Damn.
The European nation of Austria and the state of Indiana may not appear to have much in common at first glance, but they have one big thing in common.
Chicken schnitzel.
The populations of
Ooh.
both love tenderloin. In Austria,
Tenderloin?
it's the Wiener Schnitzel, and the comfort food of choice in Indiana is the pork tenderloin sandwich, a slab of luscious pork
pork.
tenderloin thinly pounded, breaded, and served on a billowy bun. Talk about comfort. It doesn't matter how you prepare these
Pork
golden ears,
schnitzel.
folks in Iowa can't get enough of the ever-popular summer staple, sweet corn. The comfort food of
course.
choice in the Hawkeye State, Iowa is the largest producer of corn in the nation and the home to some of the most incredible, fresh, sweet corn you may ever get a chance to gnaw off the cob. Shuck it from that leafy green husk, cook until tender, douse it in butter, and let your taste buds soar.
So to give you guys some context on how sometimes we cook food in South Africa, we have this thing called a braai, which is similar to the American barbecue, except we start off with wood, we burn the wood, and once the wood, condenses down into, coal and charcoal, then we would put a grill over and we would cook our meat. And very oftentimes, we would wrap a corn cob in a, tin foil and put it on the fire. And man, it's just so good. So I'm also quite a sucker for some good corn every now and again. So I agree with Iowa. Sweet corn is good.
It's hard to imagine, but there was once a time when barbecue pitmasters cut off the ends of the brisket and threw them away, thinking no one would want them because they were burnt. They eventually caught on to the error of their ways, and burnt ends, the rich, smoky, and crisp yet juicy tips of barbecued brisket, have become the star of the show ever since. In Kansas City, in particular, home to great barbecue, burnt ends are the comfort food of choice for many.
And the home of the Super Bowl champions.
Kentucky's hot brown sandwich is a late-night snack turned comfort food classic. Created by Fred K. Schmidt, a chef at Louisville's Brown Hotel in the 1920s, the dish was originally intended to feed out-of-town guests and locals who had danced in the hotel's ballroom until the wee hours. Schmidt dreamt up an open-faced sandwich of turkey, bacon, and cheesy Mornay sauce, which he then baked and served hot. The sandwich was an immediate hit and has been quenching cravings ever since.
Hey, that looks good.
No
That's a good
dish,
invention.
says Louisiana, more than jambalaya, a centuries-old
Jambalaya?
pairing of Spanish paella plus French and African culinary traditions and cooking techniques. Jambalaya usually includes a selection of meat.
I was about to say that definitely looked like it had an African influence. We're big into, stews and cooking in, cauldron-style pots, throwing everything in there, mashing everything together. So I saw this, I'm like, oh, that sort of has like an African influence for sure.
Meat, vegetables, and spices, all simmered together with rice in a tomato-based broth. It's a savory and slightly sweet entree with a subtle kick of heat that Louisianans can't help but crave.
Mwah, looks
Prior
good.
to the 1800s, lobster was considered a poor man's food and in such
Really?
low demand that farmers used lobster meat to fertilize their fields. Today, though, lobster is a
believe it?
high-end entree and something nobody loves more than the folks living in Maine. As the largest lobster-producing state in the nation, maniacs know a thing or two about preparing in-demand seafood, and they can't get enough of the lobster roll, chunks of fresh lobster mixed with mayo and served atop a buttery toasted bun. It's a comfort food classic. Like the lobster roll, crab cakes are another dish inspired by a regional abundance of seafood.
Never had this.
In this case, Maryland and the state's incredible blue crabs. A classic Maryland crab cake usually includes fresh lump crab meat, mayonnaise, breadcrumbs, Old Bay seasoning, mustard, and Worcestershire sauce. These ingredients are mixed together and shaped into patties that are then fried or broiled until crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. It's a dish so popular that locals have been scarfing it down for nearly a century.
Wow. Okay.
Another East Coast state, another perfect seafood-inspired comfort dish. This time, it's
Massachusetts.
clam chowder, the comfort food of choice throughout the state of Massachusetts. This simple yet hearty soup, which combines chopped clams, potatoes, onions, bacon, and either milk or cream, has been uber popular throughout the Bay State since at least the 18th century. In fact, America's oldest restaurant, the Union Oyster House in Boston, has been serving the soup consistently on its menu since the place first opened up way back in 1826. How does a Coney Island-inspired hot dog end up the comfort food of choice in Michigan?
man,
Think Greek
that looks
immigrants
good.
who were inspired by the hot dogs they ate in Brooklyn and took that idea west to their new homes. Numerous Coney Island-style restaurants popped up throughout Detroit in the early 1900s, and some are still in operation today. The star of their menu? The classic Coney, a beef hot dog topped with all-meat chili, yellow
that
mustard,
looks
and
so
diced
good.
onions, and served in a warm, steamed bun. What could be better than a classic
Guys, you might find that my culinary taste is it's not too refined, because my standard thing would be hot dogs, burgers. I just love that. So when I saw those hot dogs, man, I was like, I want one of those right now. One of the things I want to tick off my bucket list is to go to an American ball game and have a hot dog. That might seem like such a simple thing to tick off the bucket list, but guys, I so badly just want to have a hot dog at the ball game. Have a true standard American experience. So please let me know which ball game to go to. I'm leaning towards going to a Texans game simply because, Texas is the state that I'm leaning towards visiting first, at least, or somewhere in the South. But yeah, man, I can't wait to go to a ball game.
all-beef cheeseburger? Well, if you're from Minnesota, your answer has got to be the Juicy Lucy. A beloved Minnesota delicacy, the Juicy Lucy is a rich, savory beef burger stuffed with cheese. And as that
Damn.
burger cooks, that cheese melts into a molten core of golden gooey goodness, just waiting for you to bite into.
It's
Out-of-towners
messy,
may add
but it's
onions,
probably good.
pickles, or bacon, but locals keep it simple and let their Lucy shine.
Damn, that looks good.
As legend has it, Mississippi's Po' Boy got its start when a pair of former streetcar conductors turned restaurateurs and opened a popular eatery. To give back to the community, they handed out free sandwiches to folks who were down on their luck. The sandwiches varied considerably. Some had roast beef, some contained chicken fingers, and some packed fried seafood. But they all had one thing in common. They were served on a French-style baguette they called po' boy bread. The name stuck, and Mississippians are still clamoring for the sandwich even now.
I mean, that's a
The
great
story
sandwich.
of toasted
I love
ravioli
that.
is a simple one. A tired Missouri chef was rushing to finish an order he was working on when he accidentally dropped a few large ravioli in hot oil instead of boiling water. The restaurant's owner tried to salvage them with some Parmesan, and everyone loved them. Soon, these toasted ravioli were popping up throughout St. Louis, before spreading across the Show Me State to the rest of the country.
I guess the only thing I did was get some toasted ravioli. I grew up on that, so anytime I come back here, I always got to eat it.
So I never knew it was called toasted ravioli, but I've had something similar many times before, and it is really good, especially if you have a nice sauce around to like dip it in. So I can definitely see why that is a favorite comfort food. No
A
lies.
classic Native American dish that's been popular in Montana for generations, fry bread tacos take everything
yeah.
there is to love about Mexican food and elevate it with the warm, yeasty, crisp bite you can only get from fresh baked bread. Starting with fried bread, you then top it with spicy seasoned ground beef,
Yeah.
tomatoes, cheese, salsa, and sour cream. No wonder the fry bread taco is such a favored comfort staple. If you haven't spent a lot of time in Nebraska, then the Runza sandwich may be a mystery. But
Never
for
heard
any
of
true
this.
Cornhusker, there's no debating the incredible appeal of the Runza. Believed to have been brought to the state in the late 1800s by German and Russian immigrants, a typical Runza consists of savory pastry dough that's stuffed with ground beef, onions, and cabbage, and then baked to a crispy golden brown. The regional delicacy is so popular that it's even inspired a fast food chain which operates almost exclusively within the state. Maybe
I wonder how they hollow out that bun, because that looked nice and cozy. It looked like a hollowed out bun with everything stuffed in there. That looked really, really good. I've never had, what is they called, the Runza. Never had a Runza bun in my life, but that looks pretty darn good. Folks, also just a reminder, if you are enjoying this video so far, liking the video and subscribing to the channel definitely helps a lot. I really appreciate it. But yeah, let's continue.
it's Nevada's
Prime
link
rib.
to all those famous
Ooh.
19th century cattle
Ooh,
drives.
prime rib.
Maybe it's because Las Vegas was home to the country's first ever all-you-can-eat buffet, where prime rib was a main attraction.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's the famous roaming prime rib cart at Laurie's The Prime Rib in Las Vegas, which carves and serves up slice after slice of succulent prime rib tableside. Whatever the reason, when it comes to comfort food in Nevada,
Looks
nothing
good.
gets more love than tender, juicy prime rib.
That looks good.
Comfort foods often blossom in regions where ingredients are in the greatest supply. So, what do locals in New Hampshire, one of the nation's leaders in the production of maple syrup, flock to when looking for a taste of home? Maple syrup,
Pancakes.
of course. And what goes better with the kick of maple than a mountain of pillowy, soft, warm, buttery pancakes? And they're not just for breakfast. Throw some bacon or sausage on the plate to sop up that syrup, and you've got a classic comfort meal for any hour. Depending on where you
Hey, that is just amazing. By the way, in South Africa, we call those, very thin ones pancakes. And those ones displayed in that video that are like slightly fluffier, we call them flapjacks. Does that normally coincide with what your guys' terminology is? Or would you say they're all just pancakes? I'd be interested to know. But yeah, pancakes and syrup, I mean, how do you go wrong with that? Of course, that's going to be a favorite comfort food. That is just so good.
you grew up in Jersey, you may call the state's official sandwich a pork roll, or you might call it a Taylor ham. But however you order it, the ingredients are the same. Slices of processed smoked pork roll ham that's pan-fried until crispy and then topped with egg and cheese and then placed between two slices of a Kaiser roll or sliced bagel. It's simple, it's affordable, it's versatile, it works for every meal. And
Yeah.
for folks living in the Garden State, nothing tastes more like home.
When I go to the store, I say pork roll, egg, and cheese.
One of the most popular of all comfort foods in New Mexico is what's known as albondigas, or Mexican meatball soup. Imagine a sea of homemade beef and pork meatballs swimming in a zesty tomato broth with some added chunks of carrots, potato, and zucchini. And you have a pretty good idea just why this dish is so widely loved across
That's
the state.
definitely a
Talk
cozy
about
dish.
comfort.
That's
Buffalo
a cozy
wings were
dish.
created in Buffalo, New York, at the Anchor Bar, which is still in operation today. These crispy fried
Oh,
wings
man.
are doused in a tangy,
Mwah.
spicy sauce and served up with a side of blue cheese dressing, plus celery. They remain a favorite across the Empire State even now, nearly
course.
60 years later, and have spread across the nation to become a favorite of sports fans everywhere.
3,000 tangy wings packed in a black
can't go wrong,
contractor
baby.
bag, thrown straight through your window in time for kickoff.
Not go wrong with buffalo wings.
North Carolinians know that few culinary dishes
Oh,
pack
yes.
more beauty
Oh,
than a
yes.
giant piece of pork shoulder slow cooking over fiery coals. The hours-long process infuses the meat with rich, smoky flavor while also breaking it down until it's melt-in-your-mouth tender. When it's done, pull it apart to serve it, and you've got a Carolina pulled pork. The only thing left to debate is whether you top it with the vinegar-based sauce popular in the eastern part of the state or the tomato-based sauce popular in the west. Choices, choices, choices. Leave it to the folks in North Dakota.
So, quick story time, guys. When I was at university, me and my friends, every time after a big night out, around 2 a.m., 3 a.m., we'd start walking to our favorite sandwich shop, and they used to serve us a pulled pork and coleslaw sandwich. Guys, let me just tell you, that thing brought life back to me. It never disappointed. It was my favorite sandwich of all time, so can't go wrong with pulled pork. One of my favorite sandwiches of all time.
One of the nation's leading producers of potatoes, to figure out the ideal way to make an already craveable potato even more delicious. All you have to do is dip your chips in chocolate, of course. It may sound odd, but the unique marriage of salty and sweet is an ideal union. And this is one treat you don't have to live in North Dakota to experience.
I've never
Just
seen
melt
this
some
before.
chocolate and add a chip. It's that
That is
simple.
interesting. That is an interesting
The
one.
Buckeye is a classic Ohio comfort food that you have to try at least once in your life. This candy confection consists of a ball of peanut butter and sugar dough that's been dipped in chocolate and then chilled until firm. The name for the candy comes from the state's official tree, which produces a similar-looking nut that is mostly dark brown with a speck of lighter brown that is said to resemble the eye of a deer. Clever and pretty darn tasty. That
That is so interesting because all the folks that come from Ohio State University, I see you guys in the comments. You guys are in abundance, and you folks refer to yourselves as the Buckeyes. I was wondering, where does that name come from? But it's now I see. So not only is your delicacy named after a Buckeye, but also the fans of Ohio State University are also Buckeyes. That's cool.
Indiana's breaded pork tenderloin sandwich, Oklahoma's comfort food of choice, also draws inspiration from the
Chicken
classic
fried
Austrian dish
steak.
Wiener Schnitzel. Only, in this case, the protein in question is a breaded piece of steak, and instead of eating it between two pieces of bread, the classic chicken fried steak is typically served next to a mound of mashed potatoes and topped with a rich, savory gravy. It's the perfect down-home traditional meal
That
for
looks
one
good.
of the states that leads the nation in beef production.
That looks
Nothing
good.
wrong with green beans and a chicken fried steak.
Named after the Pacific Coast town known as Dungeness, where it was first harvested commercially, Dungeness crab has been a staple of the Oregon culinary landscape for decades, and for good reason. As fresh seafood goes, it's among the best you can eat. Sweet, delicate, and slightly nutty flavored, the meat from the crab is tender and moist, and perfect with just a slight hit of butter or freshly squeezed lemon. In Pennsylvania, the comfort food of choice combines bits of ham, bacon, sausage, and other unwanted pork scraps, plus cornmeal and spices to make something altogether new and unique. Scrapple. Cut into slices and fried up with breakfast, or cubed and added to omelets, soup, or stew, scrapple is a meat product you have to try in order to truly appreciate.
Scrapple, I don't want to know what's in it.
Eyeballs and tongues.
Has everything imaginable in it.
Folks, tell me, what do you think of Scrapple? I think, so I'm not saying it's bad, but so far out of the other amazing comfort foods I've seen, that one looked the least appetizing, but I feel like you have to try it to fully know. So tell me, what do you feel about Scrapple?
Rhode Island has taken clams in a different direction with the stuffy. Made from fresh chopped clams, plus breadcrumbs, butter, onions, celery, garlic, and spices, the stuffy mixes all the ingredients together, scoops them into a shell, and bakes them until golden brown. For many who grew up in the Ocean State, stuffies epitomize summer and family trips to the beach. Exactly the memories you want from a beloved comfort meal. The comfort food that folks in South Carolina
That looks very similar to, like, the stuffing that goes into your turkey, maybe what do you guys call it, Thanksgiving, or a stuffed chicken or something. It looks like the stuffing that comes out of there.
for the most is actually a dip, and an incredible one at that, pimento cheese. Made from a simple blend of grated sharp cheddar cheese, plus diced pimentos and mayonnaise, this spreadable comfort in a bowl is great with fresh veggies or crackers. It can also be used in sandwiches. Try it in a grilled cheese.
That looks good.
Life-changing.
Pimento
looks
is
good.
a cheese. They call it the caviar of the South.
Ooh,
Whether
Like it.
people in South Dakota are attending a festival, a fair, or a backyard barbecue, there's always one amazing comfort food on the menu: chislik. A variation of the Persian word shishlik, chislik is a play on the classic shish kebab, brought to the region by German and Russian immigrants who settled the area in the late 1800s. The dish typically consists of bite-sized cubes of lamb, beef, or venison that are seasoned with garlic, onion, and black pepper, and then grilled or deep fried.
Love it.
Everybody
Love a
knows
kebab.
and loves classic American fried chicken, but kick that crisp, juicy treat up a notch by adding cayenne pepper, paprika, garlic powder, and black pepper, and you've got a Tennessee favorite: hot chicken. Believed
Love
to be
it.
the result of another fortuitous kitchen blunder when a chef accidentally added too much spice in her fried chicken, the dish has now become part of the cultural fabric of Nashville. Make sure to order yours with dill pickles.
I love
the
it,
cool
baby.
acidity
I
helps to
want
cut
that.
through all that fire.
I want that.
Texas is the home of Tex-Mex, an incredible fusion of traditional Mexican and American cuisines. And the star of the Tex-Mex
Ooh.
family is chili con carne.
Love chili.
Originally derived from a traditional Mexican stew of meat and chili peppers, the dish is a hearty and easily transportable food that was a natural fit for the Lone Star State's early cowboys and settlers. Made from a mix of ground beef, chili peppers, onions, tomatoes, and spices, chili con carne is great on its own and even more spectacular when topped with shredded cheese, sour cream, and diced
Oh
onions.
yes, sour cream and chili,
Don't
baby.
worry, funeral
Let's go.
potatoes aren't actually deadly. That's just the name Utah's Mormon community has given this highly comforting potato casserole classic. It's ideal for a lazy Sunday brunch, large family get-together, or any community potluck. The basic funeral potato recipe includes cubed potatoes, cream of mushroom soup, sour cream, and shredded cheddar cheese mixed together, and topped with
Okay.
corn flakes or breadcrumbs before baking. Creamy, savory, and perfect for sharing. Vermont
I'll
is
try
home
it.
to some of the
I would try
world's
it.
top apple orchards and is a leader in the production of apple cider. So adding that crisp, refreshing juice to donuts was a natural idea. Apple cider donuts are typically made from a mixture of flour, sugar, baking powder, cinnamon, nutmeg, salt, eggs, butter, and of course, apple cider. The dough is fried and then coated with a thick layer of cinnamon and sugar.
Yeah.
Look for homemade versions at farmers markets and roadside stands.
I love a
throughout
cinnamon
the state.
donut, so
They're
I
a
think
Vermont
this will
staple.
definitely taste good.
Long before Egg McMuffins, there was the Virginia ham biscuit,
What?
one of the first portable grab-and-go meals and a classic Old Dominion comfort food even today. First created back in the colonial era, ham biscuits were originally all about the ham. Almost all rural families raised and smoked their own meat, and putting a couple of slices of that homegrown ham in the middle of a fresh biscuit, perhaps with some added mustard, mayo, or honey, was considered an ideal way to help the meat shine.
Can you guys explain to me the difference in, you know, the biscuits that you folks have in America? Like what is the texture? Is it very crumbly, the texture? I'm just trying to, I've never had one before. You know, when we talk about biscuits in South Africa, we're talking about, you know, just, I guess what you guys would call cookies. I don't know. Are you guys familiar with what a scone is, or a scone? I don't know how you would pronounce it. Famous more in Britain. So we have scones. So I think that might have this similar texture to a biscuit. I'm not sure, but I would be interested to know what you folks say.
Washington State is one of the leading producers of sweet
cherry
cherries
pie.
in the U.S.
I've
and
never
when you
had
have
cherry
a
pie.
lot of cherries,
Never had it.
you make cherry pie. This delicious confection has been a
looks so
popular
good.
dessert and one of the state's most beloved comfort foods since settlers
I've
first
never
arrived
had
in the
it.
region and brought their cherry trees with them. A perfect mixture of sweet and tart flavors, cherry pie ticks off all the boxes for just what makes a comfort food so appealing.
I would love to try this.
One of West Virginia's most beloved regional specialties, the pepperoni roll, is a bit like a rolled up slice of pizza, except it's made with a thicker, flakier bread dough. And the average pepperoni roll tends to be stuffed with way more filling. Mountains of pepperoni, shredded mozzarella, onion, peppers, and marinara sauce, all heated to perfection inside the portable bread shell. Originally
I mean, how do you go wrong with this? You know, a pepperoni roll with cheese. I mean, that's going to taste good. That's going to taste
created
really
by
good.
Italian immigrants working in the state's coal mines, the humble pepperoni roll has since gone on to become the official meal of the Mountain State.
Nice.
Wisconsin is known for its cheese, so it's no surprise that their favorite comfort food is a cheese-based dish. Cheese curds, bite-sized chunks of leftover fresh cheese that are produced during the making of other cheeses like cheddar, Colby, or Monterey Jack, are one of the state's most popular appetizers and snacks.
Yeah.
The shards of cheese, which squeak when you eat them raw, are batter dipped and then deep fried to gooey perfection.
That's like a perfect
Wyoming
bar
is one
snack.
of the largest states in the nation, but also the least populated. Fortunately, all that wide open space leaves plenty of room for natural wonders,
Beautiful.
including the country's largest herds of buffalo, or bison. Bison burgers use some of that abundant meat, swapping it for beef in any classic hamburger recipe. The result is a leaner, greasier, slightly sweet-tasting burger that folks in the Equality State can't get enough of, with the popularity of bison burgers
That looks good.
exploding
That looks
in
good,
recent
guys.
years.
That is unbelievable. Well, that is it. We looked at all 50 states and their supposed favorite comfort food. So again, I asked you guys, let me know if they got it right, if they got it wrong. If they did get it wrong, let me know what is the true comfort food, or what is your favorite comfort food from your state. I'd love to know that. The thing I love about this is that each state was so different. You know, that's the beauty about the United States of America. Each state is so different, so unique. And that's why if you're in the United States of America, you don't even need a passport, folks. You can just travel around your own country because it's almost like traveling to a whole new nation. That's what I just love so much about it. So diverse, so different. Truly up there. Probably the best country in the world. I could not wait for my visit. But yeah, folks, if you enjoyed this video as much as I did, I found it very, very fun indeed. I almost regret it because my mouth is watering right now. I am hungry after watching that. But if you did enjoy it, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel. I very much appreciate that. But until next time, I hope you have the absolute best week possible. Till next time, I'll see you when I see you. Cheers.